All right, welcome back. This is lab number 2. We're doing SQL injection vulnerability, allowing login bypass. So we have SQL injection vulnerability and login function to solve the lab from and SQL should be an SQL injection attack that logs into the application as the administrator user. All right, so let's go back into, we have MySQL running, so let's go back into that. Yeah, that should work. And then let me show tables. All right, let's use the actor table again. So we're gonna type, I'm gonna type in what I think the query looks like so we can get an idea of how we're gonna bypass it. So let me actually first asterisk from actor limit 10. All right, so let's write what we think it looks like. So select select asterisk from actor where first name equals, and we're gonna do Ed because it's short, and last name equals Chase. All right, so this is what I think the query looks like. Except for in the application, it's going to be select from user, where the username equals whatever, and password equals whatever, right? And we want to be able to bypass this. We may be able to inject into the username. We may be able to inject into the password. Let's start off, and I honestly don't know which one it is. So let's just start off expecting to inject into the username. If we were to do that, what we would want is the same that we did last time. So we want to build a query that looks like select asterisk from actor. So it's like this. We don't know the password. So let me type out equals Ed, but we know the username, right? And last name equals that. All right. And this is the part we don't know. We don't know the password. We know the username we want to get. If I run this query, we get an empty set, which means we wouldn't be able to log in, right? Because it has to be, we have to know both the username and the password, unless we can get rid of this filter, right? And remember, last name would be the password in the application. So if we can get rid of this filter, then all we really need is to know the username and be able to inject into the username, right? So with that in mind, we can do select asterisk from actor where first name equals Ed, which will be administrator in the application. Then we can do, as our input, we can put a single quote. This will end that string. We can write our own thing. Well, we can just do single quote and then the double dash space. This, and that'll be our input, possibly. And then a single quote is what's left over. And so let me copy from here. Right? Let's see how that works. And remember, the semicolon is commented out, so I have to put that back in. But you can see we get success, and if this was the application, we would get logged in as that user. So let's build out our first exploit, assuming that we can do something like this. We'll give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, we'll tweak it from there. So I'll just leave this up for now. We've got this script that we wrote for the last time, and we want to reuse a lot of stuff in here. So let's make a template file, and let's copy and paste everything that, you know, we think is going to be used throughout all scripts in that file. So let's leave proxies, the logging. We'll leave this for now. We're going to leave parse args for now. I don't like that. Let's create a utils file, and we'll move some of the code into that. We'll leave the boilerplate here. So let's create another file called utils.py. And in this file, we're going to put in these methods or functions, and we're going to add in isSolved. And I want to do some changes to this one because let's do it right now. I don't like the name of this function because it's not a very good descriptive name. Let's change this to underscore is solved. That kind of makes more sense to me. Underscore is I don't know the right word, but Python code, when you have underscore, it's understood that is supposed to be private to the class, and in this case the function, because so it makes sense to have this be underscore, and is solved is a good name for it. So we will make these underscore is solved. All right, let's pull out anything else. We're not going to pull out main. We're going to leave, and we're not going to pull out this. So we've got parse args, normalize, and is solved. Perfect. We need arg parse, log, requests, proxies, and time. So time, logging, arg parse. Let's actually get all of this, proxies, log, all of that. All right. Oh, and we need sys. Too many spaces here. All right, so we've got our utils, and then we've got our template. So in this, we're going to leave, I'm going to remove this. We'll just import. So right here, we're going to do import utils. And then we're going to leave this. We're going to leave that. We're going to remove this, and this. Remove all of this for our template and just do pass there. All right. Remove time. That's probably not needed. Leave everything else. And we're going to change this to utils.parseArgs. All right. I think that's a good start for our template, and we've got a utils function. All right, so back to writing the exploit for this one, and we're going to name this what? I'm just going to name it login bypass. So login bypass.py, and we're going to take stuff from our template. args. Let's URL equals normalize URL, but remember this time we have to do it from utils. And we know our payload. Let's look at what the request looks like in Burp so we know how to build it out here. Let's open up the lab. And we're going to go to My Account. We're going to go Administrator and then blah. Okay, invalid, but that's fine. Post login. This is what we want, right? Yeah. All right. So we can see we have a CSRF token that we're going to have to deal with, but then it's username and password. So we have 3 spots, and the place we're going to log in is the /login, and that's also the page that we get. All right, so let's start. Because we're having properties now of this site, this shop site, let's start building out a class for that. So let's create a new file. We'll call it site.py. Let's call it shop.py. All right, we want a class. Class, we'll name it shop. All right, and we need to instantiate it with a URL. Sorry, we're going to do this. Def init URL. And then let's configure the base URL equals url.normalize utils.normalize URL. So import utils. All right, this will get our base URL. We can add in the login URL equals base URL plus login. We configured it to always end with a /, so don't need it there. And yeah, so that's the start of our class. That's all we need for right now. Get the login, post. We will need something to get the CSRF, so we can build that in just a second. Let's leave this for now. And let's go back here. Let's call our things shop and equals shop with the args.url. And we need to import shop. Now we'll have the login URL built into this, into the class and into this object. So the first thing we need to do is figure out that CSRF. Let's do a requests.get to the shop.login URL, and let's do if args dot no proxy. We'll do it this way. Else requests.get shop.login URL proxies equals proxies, and then verify equals false. And because we moved it, we need to put this as utils. Perfect. We need to save the responses because we're going to examine these for the CSRF token. So if response dot status code equals 200. So if we get a successful response, let's go ahead and print out the response.text just so we can see what it looks like, locate that CSRF token so we know how to get it. And yeah, that looks good to me. One too many spaces there. Let's start with that. We don't need argparse in here anymore. All right. So I'm going to open up a new terminal. I am going to go back to, there's the virtual environment. So source venv.venv bin activate. I have this so I can run this, right? I have it aliased to SEBA, and that's because I used to use .env. But I've changed to .venv. That's why it was Seba. But anyway, so I'm just going to run Seba, but it does the same thing. All right. I'm going to go back to SQLi, and this is where our script is located. I'm going to go back to the home here, copy this, and let's run it. Python login bypass. Give it the URL. Shop module object is not callable. We import shop from shop import. This is what we want. So let's move shop to shop.py. All right. Hope that makes sense. But now we have a shop with a class name shop, and then we, in our thing, we from shop import the class shop, and then we use it here. That should work fine. All right. You know what I didn't do is in our init, I didn't put self. So this error down here, it's saying 2 arguments were given, and that's because self is automatically given. And so I needed to just add that in here, and then has no attribute. The shop, oh. Shop object has no I wonder if it's because I'm naming this the same as the module. I don't know. Let's just try changing this login URL because it does have it here. It's saying it's never used, but that's fine. It doesn't need to be used. It just needs to be available. Has shop object has no login URL. Oh gosh, I need to do this first. I need self dot. Dang. All right, sorry about that. If you had spotted that before me, definitely let me know. All right, we can see here is the CSRF token that we're going to need to grab, and what the form looks like. What's important is the names. We want to make sure we get those correct, and grab this CSRF value. Let's do that now. So let's try it in the script, and then once we get it working, we can add it to the class. All right, so to do this, let's use regex, and then if response code equals 200, let's change this, not log.error, could not get login page, and then we'll sys.exit. This is just checking whether we get a 200, and since we're getting the login page, we'll log that as an error, and then we'll exit the script. If we can't get the login page, there's just no use in going any further. This protects our script, so it just exits right away if, nothing can be done from there. All right, what we want to look for in our regex is, let's do R. R is raw, so that Python will know that we're using regex. I'm going to use single quotes here. It looks like the text on the right is double quotes, so we'll do name equals double quote CSRF, and then space value equals, and then this is the value we want to capture, so I'll put it in parentheses. I'll put dot asterisk so it captures any single character, and then the asterisk means I think 0 or more times, and then the question mark will say to end as soon as possible, not be greedy. If it was greedy, and it could end right here or right here, because all of these are double quotes, so it could capture all of the crap between there, especially if we had the dot saying that it included carriage returns, line breaks. Currently doesn't, but so this question mark will say end at the soonest opportunity, because right after it's the double quote, it's going to end at the first double quote it sees. All right, and that looks good. So that should get us the that should be the right regex for this. Now we need to either use search or match, and I always forget which one. Let's pull up, let's do Chromium, and we'll do Python regex, and we want match objects, group, get item groups. Okay, search and match. First location where there's regular expressions produces a match. That looks like what we want. So we can compile it as a pattern, search, and then we'll have our match object. So let's exit out of SQL, and we'll do IPython just to practice, and let's set a variable to this. Do A equals, I'm going to triple quote it so that it captures all of the line breaks. Okay, and then we'll do our pattern equals re dot compile r single quote, and we'll do the same thing we did over there. Name equals double quote CSRF double quote space value equals dot asterisk question mark and parenthesis and single quote. And that, okay. Oh, I named it pattern, not pattern. And then we'll do pattern dot search. We're going to search through A. And we're going to save that as M for match. M, let's just look at it. M0. That's the whole match, so everything it matched. And if we look at M1, this is just the CSRF token. So that's exactly what we want. All right, so we can do that here. We can do pattern equals that, and then pattern dot search and resp dot text, and we're going to save this. Let's save it as M again, and CSRF token equals M1. Because that's the only thing we're pulling out, M1 should work. All right, we've got our CSRF token. Now we need to use that, and we need to provide username and password. So we're going to create a data dictionary object. The first one is going to be the CSRF. We're going to just use the CSRF token, username. And then I'm going to leave this blank for right now, and then we'll come back to it. And password, we can literally put anything here because it won't be used. All right, if you remember what our exploit was, we decided we wanted administrator, single quote, and then dash dash space. That should comment out the rest of the line. And if administrator exists, we'll get a result back, which will allow us to log in. Password, again, will be commented out, so we can put anything we want there. And then, yeah, that's it. So requests.post. We want this to be shops.login URL. And now that I've fixed, let's go back to trying to use shop singular. And let's do our if. And this is kind of a pain, but I don't like it when I can only use the scripts if I have a proxy. Sometimes I want to run them without a proxy, and it's so, yeah. So I like it when I don't have to. Data equals data. This is a post, so the body will contain the data. And we don't need anything else for this. We may need to build out a session and save cookies, but for now, we'll just do it like this. Else requests.post shop.login URL data equals data proxies equals utils.proxies and verify equals false. We may want to, put this boilerplate code in a util itself so we don't have to call it every time, but we can do that in the future. All right, let's save these responses. And if response dot status code equals 200, let's use our is solved script now. So that's utils dot is solved, and we will give it the shop dot base URL. What did I mess up here? Oh. I need 2 because I'm checking if they're equal, not setting them equal. All right, well that looks pretty good to me. Much shorter code than our first one. Pattern. We didn't do this right because we have to use RE. What did I do wrong? re.compile. Again, if you saw that and was screaming at the video, let me know. All right, now we should be good to go. Let's try it. Python, let's see if our shop is still live. It is. So Python login bypass, and we'll put that, have it do its thing. Utils has no proxies. Well, we didn't log anything, which is unfortunate. And we didn't solve it, which is also unfortunate. So let's see what happened. Here we get the login with our requests. Here we post. Invalid CS session does not contain a CSRF token. All right. Because this says session, we must have a cookie that we need to get first. So let's change up our script. And when we go to solve it, which we are going to do right here. Actually, let's start from the beginning. So we're going to do session equals requests dot session. So session will keep track of, any cookies that we have throughout. So that'll mean that as we get the login URL, instead of requests, we're going to use our session. Same here. As we get this login URL, we should be assigned a cookie, and then we're going to use that cookie when we do the post here. All right. Let's try this again. Let's do some logging. All right. So we're gonna log.info getting login URL, and then let's do log. Let's move this down. Log.info found CSRF token, and let's put it in just to make sure it looks right. And then log.info attempting to log in with, we'll just leave it like that. All right, let's try it again. We get an error. Is solved. Missing one required positional argument. And that's the no proxy. Where do I have? Oh, is solved. So URL and args dot no proxy. Let's see if it actually worked. It did. So we do have a solved, even though our script didn't say so. If we run that again, boom, lab is solved. And you can see now that we have multiple locations, the logger where we put in the name is now specific to where we run it. So anything with main is logged from the script that we run from the terminal. And then because we use the same logic, get logger name, it's substituting that with the file name here, so we can see where this part is happening. All right, well, that is it. Let's improve our shop class just a little bit, and we're going to add in this login stuff into that, because it is logging into the shop. Might as well put it there. We'll leave session. So let's do def login. We want, let's do this. Self equals session. So we can create the session, and just when we instantiate the shop object, it'll be local to it. And then we don't need to provide anything. Oh, let's do this. Self.noProxy equals no proxy. Add this no proxy. Let's change the order of this. I think no proxy is always going to be required. And session is kind of more optional in my mind. So we'll put no proxy first. Again, this is just looks, aesthetics, but I'll move that up. All right. So def login. We want to getting login URL. We want all of this stuff into post to right here. I'm going to move that all to here. So let's change this from getting login URL to attempting to log in to shop. Args no proxy is going to be if self.noProxy. Resp. This is going to be response equals self.self.login URL. Same here. Self.session. Change that to self. Proxies, that's fine. If not, that looks good. Could not get login page. Let's exiting script. All right. Pattern. We need to import RE here. regex. That looks good. Response.text. That looks good. There we go. Found data equals. Oh. Right here, we need to get a username password. These will be arguments to this function. And then we're going to put those here. Username and password. Attempting to log in. Again, instead of args, this should be self and self. Oh, whoops. I shouldn't. Resp. Self.noProxy. Session post. Change word. Self. Login URL. Data equals data, which is good. Self session post. Self data. That looks good. if response dot status code equals 200, log dot info successfully logged in. I don't know if all right. So we got some stuff we need to fix up here. Number 1, we need self here. Number 2, we need to import logging. And sys space between that and our R file that we're importing. That looks good now. We've got a good login function. I think that'll handle us well. Let's do, what we could do and what we'd probably want to do if we were getting a little bit more professional about it is we can do a rep try catch or try except around some of the parts that we think may fail, like this, except, and then we can determine the type of exceptions we want to handle. For now, I'm going to leave that. If we start getting like timeouts or anything like that, we'll add that in, because this is this is just for us, so no problem if it prints out gross error messages like these tracebacks. So yeah, that looks good to me. Now let's fix up our main. So we want, now that we have a login, we can shop. We want session equals request dot session, and shop now needs a little bit more. No proxy and then session. So args.no proxy session. So we've got that. We don't need this. We don't need any of this, because remember, that's all moved now into the class. Excuse me. We do need to provide it the username and password. So we're going to do shop.login. We need to give it this. Remember, I said we can put anything here we want. So we'll just keep it the same. And here we'll just keep it the same. Administrator, single quote, dash, dash, space. That means that can go. All of this can go. And we can just check if it's solved. So our script has shrunk a lot. And that's not really a good or a bad thing. It all depends on how we went about that. And I think we went about it the right way. We moved this logic into the class. We imported the class, and then we took advantage of it. Any of our scripts down the road can also log in using that same script. I think everything looks good. Let's see if our session is timed out, which I'm hoping it has. Yes. This means that we can try it again with our new logic. While we're waiting, make sure to like, subscribe. If I'm going too fast, too slow, let me know. I am just, doing it at the speed I think is appropriate, but what do I know? We're going to do login bypass. This time we're going to do it without a proxy, just to check that that's still working. All right, let's do it. Attempting to log in. Interesting. We have attempting to log in. We do have it shown as solved. We did solve it, but we have attempting to log in twice let's fix that right here. So let's change this to getting login page. Getting login page. And that's appropriate. And then we've got attempting to log in, successfully logged in. And then checking if solved, lab is solved. Right on. All right, well, that is it. Just to review what we did, we used the fact that there was a bypass in the username field. We put a single quote to end the SQL query, 2 dashes to comment, 2 dashes in a space. We added this space because we don't know the type of database. If it's MySQL, it will require it. If it's everything else, it won't matter. So we put the space in just in case. And then we put anything as the password. The SQL injection was in the username, and that's more common than in like the password. The reason why is passwords often contain, special characters. In the username, that's not the case most of the time. And so you'll get, injection points in the username more often than in the password. We took advantage of that by ending the text early, commenting out the rest. The rest included a check to see if the password was correct. So we're bypassing that check, filtering it out, and then logging in as the administrator user. That is it. If you have any questions, comments, definitely let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks again. Goodbye.